There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my first stream. And with me, we have Johnny. Oh, I have to turn my. And we're going to talk about what our problems were with season 7, as well as what we think is going to happen in season 8. I'm going to let Johnny do his own intro now.
Well, first off, thank you, Mackenzie, and thank you so much for having me on your inaugural stream. I am so humbled, and I appreciate it so much. Yeah, I'm just kind of excited to talk about Game of Thrones with Sassy Sansa herself. We have a lot of good friends in the chat, and yeah, like you said, I want to talk about a couple things in season 7 that I hope they don't do in season 8, and get into what we think might happen in season 8.
All right. So I guess our first question is, what was your problem with season 7, Johnny?
There was a lot of filler, in my opinion. I didn't. It wasn't horrible, but as far as Game of Thrones season goes, it was disappointing to me. It seemed a little too simple, as well as sloppy with the timelines, and the whole Arya and Sansa thing really bothered me, which I know bothered a lot of people. And well, yeah, it's just a lot of things. I had a problem with season 7. I don't want to get into it too bad, but I didn't hate it. I really liked the last episode, but Beyond the Wall was pretty bad.
Yeah, I want to say that the first episode wasn't too bad because it was sort of catching everybody up on like what happened during, I guess, the break between the finale and when it started, because it seems like there's been a few months had passed, obviously, because how long does it take for Daenerys to get from, I guess, Marine to Dragonstone is kind of ambiguous, and as well as like how many months had passed since every other thing that had happened in the finale. So that was okay. But then once it gets to the timeline and how long it takes for people to get from one place to another is what kind of lost me. But other than that, it seemed like it was okay.
Yeah, I felt like it was kind of clunky in certain areas, especially on Dragonstone. They could have tied it together a little better. If even Jon and Dany falling in love was kind of sloppy, the way it happened. If they're in love, like you say.
Yeah. Yeah. But we can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a minute. But it was just a little clunky, and it seemed like a little bit of fan service in a lot of ways. And, us fanatics are the minority, and I guess I can't blame them, but I also, would have liked them to stick to the canon a little more, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, like in the first season, they kind of established that it takes a month in the first episode, they say it takes a month from them to ride from King's Landing to Winterfell. I don't know if going by boat is any difference. Maybe it's a week less. But for like all of them to get up there in time, like it did, like a lot of the logic of time went out the window, which I guess kind of makes sense when there's only 7 episodes instead of 10. But we can talk about that like another time or a bit later. But a question that I kind of have for everybody and for you, Johnny, is where did the chains come from in the final scene of episode 6 of season 7? Where do you think those chains came from?
I will do my best to be devil's advocate and defend this as best I can. I want to say, for one, that I don't know. Hopefully it wasn't salt water. And then the chains came from Hardhome, I'm assuming. Now, the Night King is a warg and a green seer like Bran, it would seem. We don't know for sure, but I am assuming he is a green seer slash warg, kind of almost just like Bran, except on the opposite side. But then that brings into question, why didn't he do all these other things if he did know that this was going to happen? I don't know. It's a rabbit hole. I want to try to segue into maybe season 8.
Yeah, we can do that.
And we'll talk about some more of season 7. But I want to talk about how long, like, as far as the Night King. So the Night King's at the wall, and Jon and Dany are leaving King's Landing, right? So they're roughly the same distance from each other. Do you think they're going to get there at like the same time, and there isn't going to be any room for like to even discuss Jon's heritage or any politics? Like they're just gonna get there, and then it's going to be on them. I don't know. What do you think?
That kind of begs into question what the first scene is for season 8. Like, a lot of people are suspecting a cold open with, like, us sort of figuring out where the army is in relation to, say, Winterfell. Because if we get that and they could be either at, like, Last Hearth or Clarhold or just marching, so just depending on where that is. But I do feel like we would get them in Winterfell in the middle to the end of the first episode, just because we have to get the ball rolling and you kind of have to have them prepare for the big battle, or the first big battle, which apparently is the third episode. So, and as well as based on who's directing which episode, can kind of, a lot of people are able to figure out the type of manner that the storyline is going to go through. But I do feel like we'll get them in Winterfell in the first episode, and then potentially Jaime and Bronn will show up as well, and that's how like it'll end, is that everybody's going to conglomerate in Winterfell. And yeah, what do you think?
Well, I'll talk about it. See, it seems to me that it depends on the Night King's motivations, what he's going for. Now, we know that when they brought the White down to King's Landing, that we have to assume that the Night King saw everything that he was warging through. So, it makes me wonder where he's going to go. If he's going to disperse his forces, whether, because if you think about it, what has Jon got? 2,500 men. The Night King has 100. It doesn't take his whole army to take Winterfell. It really wouldn't. Now they do have some backup coming now, but I could see him splitting up the forces, and it just depends on what his goal is. I mean, he's connected to Bran somehow, and we can get into the whole is the Night King Bran thing, which would be cheesy but possible. I don't know. What do you think about the Night King's motivation? Do you think he's going to go straight for Winterfell? I know he's going to.
I feel like
run into. Sorry, go.
No, I said I feel like because he had like the Night King has such this connection to Bran, that Bran, like, seeing where the Night King was in relation to like where he's going, was a big factor in the whole 6 episodes. Like he kind of knew that, oh, I'm just going to make them go far north as possible, and then I'm just going to show up, and I'm going to have all of my people surround the lake with them, and like wait until, oh, the lady with the magical dragon shows up, because apparently she exists. I don't know, potentially. But because he could have figured, oh, they'll die or somebody will show up. Like it's gonna be like one of those things. And then uh, when the dragons show up, he's like, oh, easy target is the one that's flying and has no like special bond with Daenerys. Like she can lose him or whatever because the one that she is riding is the one she loves the most. So it's like if I kill this one, then I can do it, even though logistically that doesn't make any sense at all. But yeah, the Dragons and the
Yeah,
Night King
I
are
mean,
interesting.
yeah, it's crazy. You know, we're definitely going to see a dragon battle. We're going to see Dance of Dragons 2.0. But I want to stay on this Battle of Winterfell topic for
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah.
You know, we know burnt, unsullied. We've seen the Hound fighting what looks like unsullied, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
You
I don't
see
know. I don't really.
the Unsullied like trying to fight in Winterfell. You
No,
said.
I've seen like some unsullied burned and some other stuff burned and some leaks. I try to stay away from leaks, but
Mm-hmm.
we know that there's going to be dragon fire. So I'm assuming it's the Night King, but I don't know. Do you think politics are going to play into this more in the beginning of the season than we think, or do you think the action's going to start up? Because I know the action director Miguel Sapochnik isn't till episode 3, right?
Yeah,
So we could have some politics.
we'll have David Nutter for the first two, and then it's Miguel, and then I think David Nutter again, and then Miguel, and then D&D for the finale. So if you base it off of what these directors, minus D&D, have done in the past, like David Nutter's, I think, most famous episode is the Red Wedding. So it'll be a lot more of dialogue. I think it'll be more like a dialogue focused couple episodes with minimal to medium action level. And then when Miguel shows up, those will be like the 2 episodes where like a lot of battles will show up, I'm assuming. But probably the one I think for Winterfell was the longest battle that they've ever filmed, beating Battle of the Bastards. So it will be like one of those kinds of things where we can see more like political, more action, more drama in the beginning, and then all the action at the end.
That'll be awesome. Also, we don't know that Night King's going straight for spreading and just trying to grow his army slowly, knowing extinction seems to be too simple a purpose for the Night King. And I know we haven't seen the God's Eye, and I want to talk about that later if we can. But you know, he's got Carhold and what's the Umber's place called?
Blast Hearth in Carhold.
Yeah. We know we got that, and we have the new little actors, so I'm sure they're gonna kill them off. And you know, we have Dolores Ed
at the wall.
At the wall. So
as acting commander.
We're gonna see what happens there, but you know, I feel like they're gonna make Dany's army wait outside of Winterfell. There's gonna be a lot of issues when Dany gets there. The word's gonna spread of what she did to Sam's father and son, but I don't think Sam's the one that's gonna bring it up really. It's gonna be more Jon and the Northerners, and also not trusting Daenerys, and Sansa. Is definitely not gonna trust her. Give me your what's your thoughts on that? I know you wanna talk about that.
Well, there's a question from Marie who asked, do we think that the Night King army will smash Last Hearth and Carhold? I do think that we'll get they'll reach one castle, and then they'll get reports saying that whichever one's closer to the wall, which I think is Last Earth, will be attacked first. They'll have survivors run to whichever castle Carhold, and then they'll like send ravens to Winterfell saying that the entire army is showing up. But in regards to the Randall Tarly, Sam and Dickon Tarly and the Jon situation, I do feel like Daenerys won't mention it. It'll be something that will be brought up again. Like, I guess maybe like Sam receives like a letter from his mom saying that like, have you heard like what happened? You have to like come down because you're acting Lord of the Reach or whatever place is Sam's family's from. I forget right now.
That's interesting.
That'll be something.
Yeah.
Some sort of drama like that, because the Maesters never told him, and we never got a scene where like someone comes up to him and is like, oh, like, have you condolences about your father or whatever. So I think it may be that. And then Sam's like, what happened? Then he goes to Jon, and Jon's like, I never heard about anything like that. Maybe. What do you think, Johnny?
It's hard to know. I got lost on a thought when you were talking. It made me think about something. I don't know if this will happen in the show, but it would be interesting if Sam kills the Night King, Sam the Slayer. He has heart pain. He's been the unlikely hero this whole time. And I don't know. I was just rewatching it. I was thinking about it, and I don't know. Maybe I'm fantasizing here, but I think it would be cool to see. I could just be an idiot, though.
It's an interesting thought about Sam being the one to be the first one to technically discover like, or what the White Walkers do, like this, like in the Night's Watch anyway, like the sound that, or like how many horn blows it takes for people to recognize that there's White Walkers coming, and then like all of his studies about them, for him to be the one that kills the one that started everything would be very interesting, in my opinion.
Like I also think the Citadel is going to get destroyed, and Sam and a few other people are the only people that are going to have knowledge left. That's going to be the bittersweet ending. That's going to be my prediction. All of the knowledge is going to get destroyed, like the burning of Alexandria. It's not going to be the death of magic, because we got magic on the other side of the world. How the hell are you going to kill that? I think it's going to be the loss of knowledge, and straight have to rebuild every damn thing almost.
They'll have kind of have to relearn everything. Like, that's why I guess we kind of have to have some noble people left, I guess.
Show prediction, by the way. That's just a show prediction. I just want to let everybody know that's not a book prediction. That's a show prediction.
Yeah, but in regards to if all the knowledge dies, we kind of have to have at least some nobles who are actually educated in terms of like knowing certain things, so like it can help, I guess, reproduce those stories and it not just be, I guess, like passed down knowledge. But yeah, like the loss of knowledge would be a very interesting aspect to the story, because everybody just wants action, 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 action. But Tyrion says that like not everybody is built to be a knight and carry a sword. Like, some people need books as their like sword. So yeah.
I mean, even today, the burning of Alexandria is still devastating. We have knowledge that is lost to us, ancient wisdom that is lost to us still, that we still wish we had hundreds of years later. So I think that would be very bittersweet. Very bittersweet. Yeah, as far as, the whole politics thing with Sam, I never really thought about that with his mom, trying to get in touch with him. And will she have time for that? And how long has it been since Danny burned them, and when did she get notified? So I'm like, I don't know. They screwed up the timeline so bad in season 7, in my opinion, that it's hard to judge something like that for the show. So, but that is an interesting point but I don't see Sam leaving Winterfell or leaving John. Uh, that is a good point. Something might happen with Sam's mom, but I do believe, yeah. I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't bring her in for like what, an episode and a half, one episode, um, just to have like her be pretty like very protective over Sam and like do all of this stuff and like care for Gilly's baby, even though she probably knows that it's not actually Sam's like biological child. Um, but that also he was like the person that they didn't expect to be whatever Lord Tarly. Um, but to for her to at least know like that, oh, you're like the only male of our household, like the show as any show the show has showed anyway. So for that to happen, and then that we could have like a tiny rift, I guess, with that between John and Sam. Like Sam could have been like, you could have wrote to me like if you had like she went there and you didn't stop her, and yet she burned all of these people. And when she came back, I know she didn't tell you, but you could have pressed on like, was there anybody that important killed or something like that? Because Sam and John have had always this positive, like always like brotherly relationship, but for them
Yeah.
to like have no tension at all would be very interesting to play
Well, I
out
think
because
John would take it harder than Sam, in my opinion.
it's possible.
But I want to say sorry to the chat.
Yeah.
We're both kind of new to trying to control the chat and do this at the same time. So thank you so much for being patient with us. I see so many comments going that I can't even keep
Mhm.
up with them. I'm trying to type with my left hand and unmute and mute with my right hand. So please bear with me. I see you, everyone. Any of the mods, if you see any good questions, please try to hold them for later if you can for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Go
like
ahead.
there's like the whole thing with, yes, the chat has been very active as well, but um with the whole Sam thing, I think John will probably be at odds on who like was in the right almost, or like whose feelings should be validated more. Like yes, Daenerys obviously has validated feelings because those people fought against her, and I think the Tarleys, but weren't the Tarleys with the Targaryens at the time of uh, the rebellion? I'm not exactly sure, but
Yeah, they switched sides twice.
yeah.
Now. So yeah,
So
right. They were on Targaryen side, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah, I
but
think so.
um,
I could be wrong now, so you got me questioning myself. But
the
yeah, I think so.
but so for that, anyways, it's like for John, he's almost stuck in the middle of like, I can't make this one, meaning Danny, mad at me because she could leave and everything goes to shit, or I can't have Sam mad at me because he's been my friend for years and he knows everything that he like, and he's going to be the a new maester for us. Like it's gonna be like one of those things where he has to almost pick which feelings need to be validated more, or whose feelings will be hurt less if he doesn't choose whichever side, kind of thing.
Right, that makes me think about something. Boat sex scene when Tyrion's giving the creepy look. I think he's gonna try to talk to Jon if he hasn't already talked to him. But I think he's gonna try to talk to Jon. And you know how Varys and him were talking about how we can't ever let her become her father and all this. Trey, Danny for Jon, kind of like a Fagon thing from the books. it makes a lot of sense. We know Varys is gonna betray her. We know he's gonna die. I mean, at least it's very heavily foreshadowed. So, and the most logical person for him to betray her for is him and Tyrion to both, like, try to get Jon to see, you know, what's going on. Because Danny isn't a bad guy yet. Like, but she's on that verge. She's good and bad. She's either extremely good or extremely bad. I love her character. It's very complex. People try to oversimplify her character, but her character is not simple. She lives a life of she's either completely kind or she burns you alive. And right now she's at that tipping point where she could either be the savior or she could be the ultimate villain. And there are a lot of parallels between her and Cersei. Now, we know Cersei is evil. That's not disputable. I'm not saying they're the same. What I'm saying is there are many parallels with the fire, with the viciousness, with the, Cersei learned from ruthless rulers that that's the only way that it worked. Dany tried to be a nice ruler, and she saw all these ruthless rulers, and it was working for them and not working for her. So she's, instead of trying to meet in the middle, she's going to the opposite end of the spectrum. And she's still young. So, I think that's what we're going to see. There's going to be a big deal with that. We're going to see a teetering point to where Dany is either going to be good or evil. And honestly, I can't tell you which one there is. That's probably for me in the show. If you guys didn't notice that, rewatch season 7, and you'll see they set it up with the burning of Sam Tarly's family. They set that up, and especially with Tyrion and Tyrion, reading Valar's comments on here. Tyrion and Varys, that you'll see what I'm talking about. They really set it up to where she's at a breaking point, to where she could go either way. Maybe Jon will make her come toward the good side, but whatever. I don't know. What do you think about
that? I do think that there's going to be almost for the viewer that doesn't look into the whole is Dany bad, is Dany good kind of theories, that they're going to obviously see a shift in her character, in terms of either her going to the whole angel savior, or
hold on. I'm sorry for cutting you off. You might have to start over. Is Kenzie cutting out too? Or is it just me, guys, in the chat?
Oh. They're not. There's a delay, remember?
Just start over. I apologize. Just start over. You're breaking up on me, so go ahead.
That there's either going to be Daenerys going to be the angel that saves everybody, or she's going to be the devil that just rips everybody apart. But on my part is that she was good, and the angel in the first 2 seasons or whatever, but then it slowly started to descend into confusing herself with being a queen over a conqueror. She thinks that ruling and conquering are the same thing almost, and that because she has her quote-unquote very large dragons and her huge army, that's going to save her and be the thing that gets her to win everything. But when she gets to Winterfell, it will be a situation of, my people have never been in the cold, let alone cold that's this cold, and they've never fought in the snow, so I'm going to have a much bigger problem on my hands than I expected. And that's something that at least we didn't see her think about in terms of season 8, and her and Jon and everybody else going north. So, yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part, but I was gonna make a point
Sure.
about, you know, you have to think, she was raised by her brother, and he is definitely not the best role model, and she never had the best role models. So she is a product of her environment, and she's done very well for that. I just want to throw that in. But yeah, Jon's the teetering point, I think. Also, they're definitely having problems at Winterfell. I don't know how the whole politics are going to work with it, but yeah, I mean, you have some really good points. Especially thinking about the Sam thing. Yeah, but that could also come into factor later. I don't know. Next question.
I guess for that, it's like we are expected at least to have a Daenerys and Sansa confrontation. How do you think that's gonna go?
It's gonna be definitely awkward and weird. They're not gonna. If they talk to each other, it's just gonna be formalities. Sansa is not gonna let her in easily, and Arya. It's hard to say what Arya's gonna do. They've they messed with her personality. It's weird. Like, she was one person when she was killing the wife. Now she's completely different once she left Braavos and is back. But I think that's just kind of how they were trying to play that weird sister betrayal plot in season 7. I think that's kind of what threw me off, because Arya is one of my favorite characters, and I don't know. I didn't like how that went down. I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about how, how they messed up the Arya storyline and how you don't know how that would go between the three of
Yeah,
them.
as far as her and Daenerys, it's interesting because we know she kind of loves dragons and loved the Targaryens, and she also loved, Nymeria was opposite the Targaryens, so you have to think about. I don't know. I don't think she's going to receive her well at first, because Arya's kind of become a master of whispers herself. She hears and sees a lot. So I would think she's already heard some things, and especially by the time Jon and Dany get back, it's going to be really weird. And who, could they possibly tell anyone else before they tell Jon? You know what I mean? Could Sam and Bran maybe tell Arya and Sansa? Would they even do that? Or, I would think Bran would know who to tell and who not to tell. Do you know what I mean? Like who he could confide in. But it's really weird because Bran seems to have powers sometimes, and then sometimes it's just a weird dude. I don't know. I didn't like that part either. See, we're getting back into season 7 griefs. I want to see Bran evolve into something powerful, but not straight into the Night King, because damn it, if he becomes the Night King, then they done predicted it at season 3.
Yeah, when Daenerys shows up and the Stark sisters will meet her, it will be very awkward, to say the least, because Sansa was told that Baelish had found out that, or at least heard rumors that Daenerys is this most beautiful woman and she has dragons. So, Arya may not, think of the whole Jon and Dany thing in a quote-unquote sexual way, and Jon being, this person who, as far as they know, has, never really had a woman in his life, in terms of any, I guess, anything too romantic or anything like that. So they may have feelings with that. You're not only a woman who has like dragons, and apparently they've heard rumors that you can walk through fire, but also now you're going to manipulate him into believing that uh, you are the rightful one that can do anything and everything right. Yet you forced his hand almost, um, as well as with the rulers. They're not gonna find Daenerys any bit more of a great queen or of the like compared to Sansa, because they're going to be questioning Daenerys the entire time, especially when Missandei um, calls out Daenerys's 15,000 titles. They're going to be like, yeah, sure, but what you have to show for all of these titles? Like, sure, you have this army. Like, I could see someone like Lord Glover saying, oh, so you have the Dothraki and the Unsullied, two armies that have only fought in the hot desert sun, and you're going to bring them up here and have them fight with us? Like,
Well, they're
she's
not
gonna,
even going to be able to ride horses. Probably not much. I mean,
yeah,
there's snow's
they're,
going to be at least 10 foot deep, and that'll be on a good day.
mm-hmm. Yeah, so, and like Fire Hexa had mentioned, or Brita had mentioned, like Daenerys has never, like, besides Cersei for the brief moment, has dealt with a woman who has the same, I guess, level of control or power as her, because everybody else that has been in her life that has been a woman has either been a servant, a handmaiden, um, a Dothraki lord's wife. So they've never had, like, she's never been challenged in terms of the female sense of being in control or having some control or hold over some region or land. So I can see Sansa being more like bitter and more upfront, like uh, about the whole situation. But for Arya will probably be more like analyzing how Daenerys acts around like them and around everybody, because uh, she has the faceless man training and she can tell when she's lying. Like, we could even find out a thing of, is Daenerys just using Jon? Like, she's like I had mentioned, I will mention in a new video, but is Daenerys using Jon the like she had told Dario? Like, she's going to be marrying, or hopefully marrying, someone that holds power somewhere and can be used as leverage. So, and Jon is like the only one that she can use leverage on. So, what do you think?
Yeah, and well, I mean, a good point that Reed just made was, the Dothraki could bobsled, and that would be pretty cool. But
Bobsledding Dothraki.
I honestly think Sansa will begrudgingly go along with it more just for the fact that she knows how dangerous Cersei is. And I believe Sansa knows that Cersei will be lying, knows that Cersei isn't going to send anyone up there. I'm almost positive that Sansa will not believe that until she sees it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She knows Cersei too well. Actually, she's learned almost everything from Cersei and the rest from Littlefinger. So it it would make sense for her to more not agree with it, question it, but begrudgingly just go along with the alliance for the sake of getting rid of Cersei. Now, after that, or I mean, see, there still can be some political intrigue because when you throw in what happened to Sam
Mm-hmm.
and how she made them bend the knee, she didn't even give them a choice. It wasn't even, she completely devolved from
Mm-hmm.
before she went to Marine, from where she was freeing people to now she's almost enslaving them and making them bend the knee. And that's why I think this season's going to be really pivotal. People might be pissed off, but Danny might go straight evil this season. And I can't say I necessarily want to see it. I want to see something more dramatic and gray, but I wouldn't put it past D&D to make her straight evil, or we get her being straight the savior, but I don't see that. I see the more evil part or the gray area, but I don't know. I'm not an expert.
There's like a question from Rhea. It says, "How is Daenerys spoiled when she is an orphan who is homeless, on the run, raped, beaten, and sold off, etc., etc.?" She's well in the books. It was her first time, and I think the rest of the times that she was with Drogo weren't considered, I guess, her mindset weren't considered rape. Like there was one point where she didn't want it, but she still went along with it anyways. But because of her marriage to Drogo, she kind of it started the stepping stones to her becoming the woman that she is today. Like without her marriage to Drogo, she wouldn't have had the 3 dragon eggs, which wouldn't have made her the mother of dragons.
But to be fair, I would like to say that before that, she did have a crappy childhood where Viserys would be basically bipolar, either really nice to her or do very horrible things to her. And she was moved around a lot. So she also had that traumatic experience. And then she was cast into this thing where she was being influenced by people who, you know, are influenced by cultures that are dominant cultures, ruthless cultures.
Yeah.
That's what she grew up in, and I'm not blaming her for it.
No, not that part.
Just saying it's possible to see in season 8 that she turned bad. I don't want to see it. I want to see her actually be the liberator she was supposed to be, but it doesn't seem they're going that way. It seems like they're gonna somehow try to drive a wedge between Jon and her. That's what it seems like to me. I could be completely wrong. Could be so wrong.
Yeah, like she could turn evil, but that would be a very interesting element to her character because for 7 seasons, her character was portrayed as being the savior of Westeros. Like Quaithe had said it, Mel has said it, that she's meant to do something much greater than she's meant for. So
she might. That's what I'm saying. But I think they've built it up pretty good in that aspect to where you're at least questioning her motivations. So if she does turn out to be the savior, I won't be mad. I will not be mad at that.
No.
But yeah, it makes it more complex. That's something I think they kind of did in season 7 that was good. Made Dany complex, where she was a little bland for a couple of seasons. I know the Dany lovers are going to hate me for it, but I love Dany too. But you got to admit, there was a little bit of bland storyline there. It wasn't Dany's fault. It was the storyline.
Yeah. Well, she was kind of, I guess, stagnant for a little bit of season 4 because they, I guess, waited until season 5 to give her the storyline of when she goes off and flies with Drogon for the first time. So they kind of had to have her establish herself as a ruler, which, like, could be seen as stagnant in terms of her character growth, but that was pretty decent. Like, she got to learn from Barristan and Jorah about, like, this is how you rule properly. This is how you don't act like your father. But in season 8, especially when she meets Jon, she asserts a lot of power against him. She kind of just pushes and almost waits until he breaks a little bit, and then she kind of stands back and is like, okay, I can, like, so you're actually going to not just take all of everything that I say, like, altogether. But it's one of those things.
But that's the only thing she knows. She hasn't she never met a person like Jon, who was a ruler, who was nice and successful, nice ruler. Like, so that's why I think that's important. Is Jon really in love with her? That's another question. That's hard for me to determine. I can see it going both ways. I see Fura Hex's point, and I also see the point to where John and Danny are really in love. So it is really hard for me to decide on that one because, well, Fear Hex's video is just so compelling that it's hard. It's so hard
Yeah.
to see it any other way, but yes, it's very interesting dynamic.
Not just like her political John video, which when thankfully I got to do a stream on Jen's channel. Shout out to Jen if you're watching this or watching this later, but as well as her John and Santa video and how she kind of almost lays out everything and how almost if it doesn't happen, how it does not make like this the ending for the story does not make much sense. But um, John being in love with Daenerys, I could see it happening because she would be the first woman that he had any sort of feelings towards after Ygritte. But there's always the connotation of when in season 5 when Mel tried to seduce John in like the 4th episode or something like that, when she wanted to make a shadow baby with John, how he said that he had loved her and will always love her, and that like that even though that she's dead, he still loves her and all of this stuff. So it could be one of those things where he's maybe gotten over it, and that's the one thing that has changed, quote unquote, changed since he's come back, is letting go of the unattainable love of Ygritte now that she's dead, maybe.
Well, also he knows I guess he knows there was nothing on the other side. You could argue that he wasn't really dead or supposed to die anyway because he was going to be brought back anyhow. But yeah, and somebody mentioned Euron in the chat, and I won't talk about him until they make him slightly interesting. Right now, he's like the worst built character ever. Like him and the Dorne characters, just I mean, how disappointing is that, guys?
Kind of roped them in. But
we got to talk about some positive stuff.
Yeah, this has been a very bashing kind of thing. Johnny, who do you think will live in season 8? Like, who are your top 5 of people who live in season 8?
Top 5. Sam, Tyrion, Jon. I guess Arya and Sansa, but that's hard to, man. Because I don't see Dany making it. Division's too much foreshadowing. Mm-hmm. She's never gonna sit the throne, and she's gonna see Khal Drogo again. That's happening. I'm sorry, guys. Dany is gonna die. If I'm wrong, I will be so wrong. But there's so much foreshadowing in all the seasons that she's not gonna make it. So that's why I hope that she's gonna be the hero and die like a G. So that would be my best ending for Dany. But like, I see some childbirth type deaths going on, and that would be, people don't like that.
Well, because Johnny, they think that that's too much of a weak death for someone like Daenerys. So,
but were they bashing Lyanna then? I mean, Lyanna was the bomb. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah. I don't think that's a weak death at all. That is an honorable death. You're giving your life to give life. I mean, that might be the most honorable death there is, or at least one of them, in my opinion.
It's just because she's the mother of dragons that people are like, the mother of dragons cannot die giving birth. Like, that's so stupid. But like, her own mother died giving birth to her. Like, you would think that at least some people would be at least sympathetic to that, because also we got to remember that people in Westeros and in medieval times, women did die in childbirth, whether it was immediately there or days after. Like a bunch of, I know Jen might correct me later, but a bunch of, I think like Henry Tudor's third wife died because of complications of delivery like a few days later. So it's like she could die in the moment or die a bit later. So who knows? But I do feel like we will get a scene where she's resistant to John and she will continue to fight, and then something will happen and she'll end up having to give birth on the battlefield or like just far away from it where she can give birth, but they end up in this stage of
how's there gonna be enough time between both sex and the battle with the Night King for her to have a miscarriage with that, or but would that be with the battle with Cersei afterwards? See, I don't know.
It'll be like what happened with her and Drogo's pregnancy, where she kind of was pushed. It was like blood magic, but she was pushed over by one of the blood riders, and that plus with the blood magic had spawned on the delivery process. But I do think that like she'll have like if they're gonna do the baby thing, which I don't know they will, but because it's D&D and they want to make it very bittersweet and Disney, that they'll have her have a baby and such. But she's going to have a scene, I bet, where they could flash back to her and Drogo with the tent and the baby, and then her choosing to stay there, and then her
while she's right before she's about to die, like a fever dream type situation.
Yeah, or having a prophesized life with John and their child, and her being almost too weak to make that decision, and then she ultimately chooses Drogo and their son.
Wait, what is it?
The Sun and Stars, Moon of My Life.
I was just making sure I got it right. I thought I was saying it wrong. I want to. The one true David Adams has not a question but a comment. Tyrion's gonna screw Jon over because he's jealous, and it's the show. The whole reading they put that shot of him being creepy in the hallway. I actually don't think it's that. I think he's concerned for Jon because Jon's actually a friend to him. You have to remember that they actually, they actually became friends. And Jon, Tyrion's the only one that's ever told Jon the truth for the most part.
Mm-hmm. And also, Tyrion being outside the room is the only one that can prove that, like, the feelings that Daenerys has of maybe not, like, feeling quite right anymore or feeling like the early-ish pregnancy symptoms is validated, because you'll be like, yeah, this child, even though it was conceived when these two were not married, is his child or whatever. But it will also create an interesting rift when Tyrion meets with Sansa again. Like, will these two have this like conversation that everybody expects them to have about him not only saving his own life, but then choosing everybody as the side of someone who a lot of people in Westeros deem as like this crazy person who comes from this incestuous family, etc., etc.
Yeah, well, what's Tyrion's opinion at this point? I mean, he's so jaded after Field of Fire 2.0 that I don't know. He almost saw his brother die a couple times, and I think that really got to him even more than Cersei faking that she was pregnant, which I don't think she's pregnant. If she is, that baby bump does not grow ever.
Yeah. Well, it'd be her fourth. It'd be her fourth full. Like, if we're to believe she's going to go full term, it would be her fourth full term pregnancy. And most women who've had 4 successful pregnancies don't look like that when they've been claimed that they're at least 2 months pregnant. So yeah, I'm going based off of logic and human biology kind of here, but
Well,
yeah.
also, she was spying on Tyrion and Jamie talking too, and already said something about having a plan for Tyrion. So I think she had already planned this, and she's lying to Jamie as well because she really don't give a shit about Jamie anymore. You
Hmm.
know, we know if you read the books, she definitely doesn't give a shit about Jamie. She only uses him as a sex robot. Hashtag Westworld reference. Um, um,
Dad.
you know, it's very interesting. The I just she's definitely not pregnant, but Tyrion did love her children and would want to at least try to postpone until she had the baby or something. But I don't know. He is going to betray her, but I think it's going to be more for. It's hard to say because it seems like he could betray her for Jon, or he could do it for Cersei, or just his family in general. But I don't see anyone living but Tyrion out of the Lannisters.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's pretty clear in the book how he's always referred to as Lannister. Like every time someone talks to him, he's called Lannister. It makes me think he's definitely going to be the only one left alive. But that's the
Yeah.
books.
Yeah, I think Tyrion will be the one that lives in the at the end of the season / end of the series. But I do not think that him and Sansa would get back together based off of like a whole slew of things, which we can talk about. Um, but in terms of them being romantic towards each other, or at least having those feelings again, I don't see her feeling that way. What do you think? Because everybody wants Tyrion to either marry up with Sansa again or him to be the betrayer of Sansa.
I don't see betraying Sansa like literally. I don't see that. Maybe his actions trying to do something else betray Sansa. But I don't see them getting together. It would be an awkward, clunky, them trying to put together a huge romance in one season, and I don't see that. If they do that, it it would take up a lot of screen time that's unnecessary, in my opinion. There's other things they can talk about besides making some kind of love story for Sansa and Tyrion.
Yeah, like forcing those two characters back together doesn't really make much sense unless it's supposed to be what is it like uh God, like the godfather godmother thing where the two people aren't married but yet they have to raise the quote unquote magical baby, um like that kind of thing. Like I can see that, but like them being forced together for and pushing their like love story down everybody's throats doesn't work. And because she is a survivor, whether I like it or not, she is a survivor of being raped and tortured by one of the most evil families in Westeros. Her going back to a relationship or a marriage alliance that was before then almost sets her character back to when she was what 14, 15 years old when she was married to Tyrion. um, it kind of brings her back there. So for that, I don't think that they would put them back together. Like they'd have a couple of scenes together, obviously, in terms of them maybe having like a catch up, but they wouldn't have them back together. Like if they put them back together, it's total fan service who people want those two together. But yeah.
Yeah, if they were gonna do that, they would have had to have them somehow meet at least in season 7, and I just don't see that. Um, as far, I don't know, it's interesting. A lot of people give Sansa shade, for like, and I'm not a super Sansa fan. I like Sansa. She's not my favorite character, but I like her. They made a good point last season when Arya said, "I couldn't have survived what you survived." If they would switch places, Arya would be dead because she would have tried to kill someone, and Sansa just wouldn't have made it. So there's more than one type of strength, is what I'm trying to say. Is that in more than one type of way to show strength. You don't have to be physically strong, and you don't have to be. People deal with things in different ways as well. Sansa's plight was kind of, I don't know, they went overboard with it. Everybody would probably agree with that, with the whole Ramsay thing. I don't think anybody really liked that at all. That did get a lot of backlash, I think. But yeah, she's such a complicated character, and she is very strong. She's just not physically strong, but Arya put it perfectly. I mean, if they switched spots, both of them would be dead. So neither one of them could have survived the other. So, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's a question from Elamar, and she says, "Do we think that they will do flash forwards at the end of the story?" John, I'll let you start.
Like a Disney flash forward of the Magic Baby ruling, or like, see, I don't know. I don't see him ending. I see him ending it on a, well, we still have questions type ending. You'll see the baby. If there's a baby, you'll see the baby born. You'll see everyone trying to pick up the pieces, and you'll also see the utter destruction. And then they're gonna do something odd and fade to black, because look, if you think they're not gonna ever try to reboot this or add on to this at some point in time, they're gonna try, I think. So I see them ending it kind of on a cliffhanger. We'll get a lot of satisfaction, maybe, but definitely a cliffhanger type ending. I don't see any super fast forwarding. None of that. I don't see that.
If they do have a fast forwarded ending, it would be like they'd have, say they do the baby thing, they'd have Daenerys give birth and then Jon holding the baby or whatever after the war is over, and then there would be a couple more scenes, and then it flashes forward in time to the theory, if we believe that Jon will be declared king, that like it'll be that kind of scenario where Jon ends up ruling and has this baby in his life, which technically he never wanted, but always in the back of his mind he wanted to have a child. So that'll be like one of those sort of things where we will see him become what Aegon the, officially he could be called Aegon, whatever, the 6th, 7th, whatever number we've gone up to at this point for that name. Right. But by everybody else, he will be named just like everybody will, like in real life, but in court and stuff, we'll just call him Jon. But officially, he could be hailed as Aegon.
All right, I got something interesting to talk about. Segue from that.
Yep.
What about the magical wedding? Are we gonna have a wedding? Like, I see it being highly foreshadowed that Jon has a baby. If they have a baby, it's gonna be a bastard. Like, so foreshadowed, because he never wanted a bastard. It's always brought up. He's a bastard. He's a bastard. Like, that's his whole theme. So I see if they do have a baby that they're not going to be able to get married. Like, she's going to die before they can get married, or when they get back, she finds out she's pregnant, they're going to have to go to war. Like, definitely, in my opinion, Jon's going to have a bastard if they have a baby. What do you think? Or do you think we're going to even see a wedding scene next season? I think that.
I have like almost two thoughts on this. The logical sense in like my heart is saying that we won't get a wedding. I can talk about that in more detail, but I do think because it's D&D and because there's so many people behind Daenerys and Jon, because everybody wants to see Kit and Amelia have a wedding, that we will get them to have a wedding, but I don't know where it would be. It'd either have to, if they do get married, on the way to Winterfell, it would be at like White Harbor or something. But if they get married in Winterfell, it'll be like the most nonchalant, quickest wedding, like probably as quick as when Rob and Celissa got married in terms of on-screen seconds. Even though everybody wants an episode long wedding where they have the entire episode features like the Jon proposing to her, and then everything else like spirals after that. But the wedding that everybody does not, or majority of the fans do not want to see, is the wedding of anybody else besides those two. Meaning like a Jon and somebody else marrying, whether it's Jon and Alice Karstark or Jon.
Like, everybody's mad at the Johnson people, and I don't like agree with everything, but there is a plausible scenario where they would actually almost have to get married. There's a plausible scenario for that to happen. Could it happen? Would D&D do that? I don't know, but there is a plausible scenario. Just it's plausible. Like, but I can't say I agree with it. But it is interesting.
I almost have the opinion that the Northerners would almost be like, if you're willing to marry anybody, like once they obviously find out about who his real mother and father are, that they'll almost be like, yeah, you can be the only Targaryen in this in whatever relationship that you choose, but we're directing you to choose Sansa instead, because the Northerners would not accept a double Targaryen wedding, with the possibility of the restoration of that house and Daenerys having some sort of ability to have a child. They would probably rather Jon pick his cousin, or like almost force him into that, rather than Daenerys.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Eduardo, if you want to look through the comments, I see like the tail end of something he's talking about. If there's one kingdom, like, I'm thinking he's saying.
I think they're talking about him or Sansa being Warden of the North or something.
Yeah. Like, I could see that. That would be cool. Like, I don't think D&D is gonna have them get married, but as far as her being Warden of the North, but she wouldn't have to marry anyone. We're breaking the wheel here. Even if Dany doesn't break the wheel, the wheel's getting broken because Jon's doing the same initial motivations Dany did. So maybe he can convince Dany to get her motivations back. We'll see. But yeah, that would be cool. That's a good point, Eduardo.
Yeah, and also like her being, she's technically, if for all intents and purposes, she is Wardeness of the North, by her marriage to Ramsay, whether it's validated or not, because of her other marriage to Tyrion. But either way, she's Wardeness of the North because she was married to the Warden of the North, and she is Eddard Stark's eldest daughter. Because Bran's not going to be Warden of the North. He already axed that last season, and Jon technically has no legal standing in Winterfell, so she already has that title without even knowing it, technically.
Right. If Jon was king, he wouldn't make her get married either. You know what I mean? Like, and then if we're breaking the wheel here, Dorne, a woman can rule. So why not in the North? Why not go ahead and change it up? I could see Jon doing that. That would be pretty sweet. There'd have to be a lot of bitter, but that'd be pretty sweet. Thanks for bringing that up, Eduardo.
I also like would think that I don't, because we never got a scene of John talking to Sansa about like what she obviously went through, because having that character rehash everything that she went through on screen would be very emotional for like a lot of people. But probably in the same token of that conversation, John would be like, you can marry whoever you want, but I'm not going to force you to marry anybody because of what you went through being forced into technically almost 3 marriages. Um, that you can marry someone on your own volition whenever you want to. I'm not going to force you because I may be at, in this moment, I may be your brother or your father's um, son, but I'm not going to have you go into something that you don't want, kind of thing.
Right. Um, got a question from Brand the Builder.
Yeah.
Do you think we will get Clegane Ball or will Arya kill the Mountain?
What do you think?
What do I think? I can see Arya using a face, possibly Qyburn's face, to get to the mountain. I see her going in through the sewers she came out of while she was chasing the cat. I see her sneaking in there and taking Qyburn's face. Now, if Dan and Dave try to have her wear Littlefinger's face, I'm going to call bullshit because we know Cersei knows that Littlefinger done screwed her over. So there's no way that's happening. Well, if it does, well, I'm not going to say no way. We've seen some weird shit. But I predict that she's going to go in through the drain. She's going to use Qyburn's face. And that's how she's going to kill the Mountain. Or at least try to. I don't know if it's going to go exactly the way she thinks it is. Someone might step in and save her. Maybe the Hound. I don't know who's going to be there. But I do think it's going to be Arya. I don't think it's going to be the Hound just because that's so obvious. Both of them are kind of obvious, but Arya she hasn't got to kill many people on her list.
I don't think there's that many left anyway.
Right. And she's going to have to get some payoff at some point. Like, Walder Frey wasn't even on her list, was she? Was he for a while? No, he was.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, he was. My bad. She got him.
I think he was. Yeah.
Meryn Trant. But there was a lot of people she didn't get to get. So she's going to get the Mountain or Cersei. So I would say the Mountain. I believe foreshadowed by that fight with Brienne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Clegane Bowl. I don't know if they would see them face to face again unless the Hound and Arya were going to travel south again. But then in terms of that, it's like, how long is Arya going to wait in Winterfell before she travels down to King's Landing to do this mission that we all want her to do, which is to take out Cersei? Is she going to leave before Jon shows up? Probably not, but will she leave like the day after or like a week later? Like, we're running out of time for how long it'll take her to get there or choose when she chooses to get there. So in terms of Clegane Bowl, probably, because it's been so hyped online and the writers kind of hinted at it in season 7. But I don't know.
It's a small hint. I think there could be a lot of things to that hint. You know, I mean, I think it just knows death's coming for him. I don't know. If we see Clegane Bowl, it better not be some cliche BS. It would be nice if it were in the right setting under the right circumstances. But if you just have them two squaring off and it's just them two fighting, like, ick. I don't want to see that. Like, if they somehow are on the battlefield and he ends up facing his brother, that's a different story. That could work. But that would have to be near the end of the season when they go down to King's Landing, right? But see, we don't know the exact timeline of what they're doing here, so it's hard to say what the hell's going on.
I think we'll have at least 3 episodes in the north. The 3rd episode ends with the battle of Winterfell, and all of the characters that have survived the battle retreat south and start like going south. And then by the fifth episode, we'll have um, the big confrontation slash second battle of King's Landing, I'm assuming. And then in like season, like the finale is like a rebuild sort of thing. Like by that point, I think we will have them all, like all the important ones in King's Landing at episode 5, which because it's Lena Headey, they'll probably keep her alive as long as she can because D&D apparently love her.
Well, she's the main antagonist anyway, though,
yeah.
right? You know, the Night King, kind of just like a plague at this point. Mm-hmm. I mean, I hope we get more backstory, but they've made him and his horde of zombies, which they're getting ridiculous with. But even though I say this, I'm just airing my grievances because I didn't rewatch. I've watched all the seasons like 6 times, so it's not like I don't love the show. I just want to see a little more complexity like we saw in the first 4 seasons. That's all I'm asking for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's going to be more politicking and stuff in this season because we're going to see, I guess, Jon's full political, if we're to believe, side come out. Like, not like it didn't in season 7, but he's going to, like, almost come out full force in the 8th season, and he's going to have to essentially deal with 2, like for a majority of the season anyway, 2 women who probably don't like each other as much as people want to believe, or the people that ship Jon or Sansa and Daenerys together, which is funny to me. But yeah, he'll have to deal with not only two women battling like over their feelings, like in terms of themselves, but as well as having to help the people that know how to fight teach the ones that don't, like the women and the children and the younger boys how to fight. So he's got a lot to deal with in the first bit of the season before the Army of the Dead shows up. But yeah, it'll be one of those things. He's got to be a politician and got to be a warrior and a ruler all at the same time.
Let me answer one of D-Range's statements. He wants to see the Dornish marching in, which would be cool, but they screwed that plot line, and I don't think we're gonna. Well, see, it has me wondering if we're gonna see the death of what's her name? I can't even think of it. I had a brain fart.
Oberyn's wife.
Oberyn.
Ellaria Sand.
Ellaria, that's it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if...
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading the chat. I apologize. Go ahead.
That's fine. I don't know if this is a spoiler for anybody that plays Ellaria Sand said that this was in after season 7 it came out, that was her final scene, I think. That could be just because she's a troll or not, but I don't think we'll see Dorne again because they kind of want to cut down as many opposing storylines as they can, and I think that they want to really go back to the 3 important houses like they had in the first season, which was the Lannisters, the Targaryens, and the Starks.
So. Right. We have a question from Ree.
Yep.
I'll answer first since you answered first last time, I guess. Who's Qyburn working for, and what are his motives? I'll give you my tinfoil theory is he's a faceless man, which I kind of really don't believe. And my regular theory is he works for himself, and his motive is him. And I believe at some point he possibly could betray Cersei. If my whole Arya prediction don't happen, I see him he could turn on Cersei in a heartbeat. You see, he's always cozied up to the one that can get him the highest in power. He's kind of like a even creepier Littlefinger and old Kinky Chains put together.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of Qyburn working for anybody, probably for now at least, because of the amount of power that she holds. He works for Cersei, but ultimately he works for himself. And his motives are because I don't think he's technically a full maester because he doesn't have like all
No,
the
he got
chains.
kicked out for
Magic or something.
no, he got
Or
kicked out for
experiment.
experimenting on live humans, I believe.
Yeah. So he's like his pet project is the mountain. So
I
his
see him
motives are like
upgrading
making
the
people.
mountain. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
But like, I see
it's
him
fine.
learning something from what they brought, what John and them when they brought the White down there. I see him learning something from that. But yeah, he definitely got kicked out
Mhm.
for. In the books, he got kicked out for sure for doing live tests on human beings. He is something nasty in the books.
Yeah. So who knows? It'll be like one of those things where his motives are kind of gray, but they'll be more towards himself and his, I guess, ideals of working on people that are alive, or making them come back to life. Who knows? But I think, oh yeah, Foyer had mentioned if we would see Dario again for the Golden Company or such and such.
Yeah, I could see them sneaking him back in there as him some type of jealousy thing. Dario seems petty enough for that for me, even though I do like Dario's character. I could see that, and then you have this whole. Like, I feel like they're gonna side with John. The Golden Company is, and then we're gonna have this rift with Danny and John. I feel like there's gonna be a huge rift with Danny and John. I'm sticking with this because the Golden Company, as we know, I mean, I don't know how true they're gonna be to the books, but they're founded by Blackfires, so they are gonna, and they're all what? They're all knights, like exiled from the Seven Kingdoms, right? Um, yeah, it's very interesting. I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull up the chat. I'm getting stuttery here. I
It's
lost my
fine.
YouTube.
Oh no.
Damn laptop. But I could see them doing that because they kind of, and then Dario. But see, I don't know. No, I don't see him bringing Dario back. No, I'm gonna say no because I tried to put it together in my head and I can't do it because it would seem forced if they did that to me. In my opinion, it would seem like it would be forced on us. That's just my opinion. Go ahead.
In terms of bringing Dario back, for season 8, sorry, it would be interesting in a multitude of ways. Him kind of almost, it would be interesting because if he shows up in Westeros, it would be because he disobeyed Daenerys' orders by leaving, and not holding his post like he should have. But they could make it that Marine had decided, like the leaders of Marine have decided on how they're going to rule and whatever. But I also do think that it would be very interesting if they did bring the actor back and he did show up in a, like, I don't know if it would be Winterfell necessarily or when they're on the run and he shows up, because then it almost creates what is it now, what would be like a love hexagon or like a love something like that by adding Dario in,
All right.
because
But
well, at least
she
the
doesn't love him though, so that would. I mean,
No,
it would
but
just be his pure jealousy would be the only thing motivating his character, right? I mean,
well, she does.
I'm trying to,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
based on her, she could have easily like said that she doesn't love him, um, just to put herself out of the misery. But she
true.
did fall like I don't know if this was casting like when they recasted him in season 4, but the two actors look quite alike. So if he is to show up, he could be like, "Oh, so you left me for another person who is clearly a bastard. Like, if that still has not been revealed yet, you left me for another bastard. Yet you're willing to marry him just because he has more like influence in society. Yet you said to me that marrying a bastard is illogical and all this, that, and the other thing. But who knows?
So you think, like him coming over here, he would come to help Daenerys, right? And then when he gets here, he finds out she's with Jon, and then you have this crazy, weird thing that happens. That's what you're saying, kind of like he's not because they're already on the way, right? And they're not married or anything, so nobody really knows that Jon and Dany are together. So I could see him coming, I guess, to help, but I don't think he could get in the Golden Company because he's not a knight. If I'm not mistaken, do they take people that
I
aren't
think
knights?
the Golden Company is just a bunch of sellswords, right?
They are, but I thought it was knights that were exiled from. Yeah, no, that's true. They do have like what's her name's in there? Uh, Arma Dog's Head, is that her name? I
I
don't
don't
know.
remember.
Anyways, there's yeah, I'm probably wrong about that. Yeah, I guess, but I
It
don't know.
would it would create a divide like Dario coming back would create a divide between them on the male perspective. As we know, Jorah's not going to make any moves on Daenerys. He's tried that like what 100,000 times, even when she was not with
It's in the
somebody,
friend zone.
and like he's not going to try that again. But if they were to bring him back, it would be very interesting because they would have the divide on the male side of you said that you could marry somebody, but it wouldn't matter because I'd be like your mistress or whatever, which could still happen.
But
Like you could petty. Him being petty would be very funny.
But see,
Um,
but he wouldn't have any control over the Golden Company, though, right? Because he wouldn't
no, he'd
be
be like,
like the leader or anything. He would just so he wouldn't have any influence on over whether they picked Cersei or Dany or Jon. It would be more of him just kind of coming to make sure his love is okay. I mean, I can see it, but I don't see
like
them having
he would
time
be
for it. But
like he was a top lieutenant in what was it the his other one
Second Sons,
the second son, so he could easily like move up the rank because it's been a year. It's been like a year, so he could easily like, or at least by this point it'd be like 2 years technically if we're getting technical. So he could have say a year had passed. They all decided who they wanted as their leader, and then he like went off and had joined the Golden Company. It's possible. Like we don't know like how the actor like that would work for the actor him coming back, but it'd be an interesting twist for him to show up. Um, Maybe it's the episode where they do get magically married or something like that, where he somehow was able to find them all and then shows up, and it causes this almost rift. And like I thought I told you to stay, and like all of the um, other things. But anyways, kind of beat the Dario subject up a little bit, but
what was
unless
the
you have anything
quote when
else.
Dany was talking about she broke up with Dario and how she just broke up with a man she loved but felt nothing and how weird it was?
Yeah,
Or she thought she loved him. So
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe she wasn't being truthful with Barristan, but I think she was. I don't think she's still in love with him. Um, we'll come back to this because I got a
Yeah.
question from Pure Hexa and I
Yeah.
paused the chat. I think it's an interesting question. Everybody likes to talk about it. Will we see Howland Reed or Mira next season?
What do you think?
I knew you were going to do that, Sassy. Okay. Let's see. I would love to see Howland Reed. It would make logical sense if the Night King comes for them to fortify themselves in the neck, at least for a time. I don't know if they're going to do that in the show. I really doubt it. But battlefield tactics, you would assume that would be a very logical place. So I think we could possibly see Howland as someone who tries to come as a bannerman, but it doesn't make sense to me because why wouldn't Mira at least try to send out a raven or something to her father? Like, hey, we need help. The dead are coming. Something's weird's going on there, or it's just a big plot hole. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's something missing because she's going home to get ready, but are they sending help up there, or are they just getting ready to survive it? Because they can survive it there, in my opinion. It's one of the hardest places to infiltrate. Like the Veil is screwed. I can see the Veil getting destroyed by Dragonfire, just like Harrenhal did. It kind of is foreshadowed for me that the Night King's going to destroy the Veil, just for I don't know, cinematic sake. And I also think how much they talk about how it's so impregnable, and the whole way the Harrenhal was impregnable and it was burnt by Dragonfire, and then they cooked inside of Harrenhal. I could see that happening. As far I would love to see Mira or Howland Reed coming back, but I don't know. It's hard for me. Let me think about it for a second. What do you think, Kenzie?
In terms of Howland showing up, I don't think in the show, at least, like we got the glimpse of him in the flashback with the whole John and young Ned situation. I do not think they have Howland show up. If they do, it'll be for an episode, and him being like, "I knew your father." And my daughter knew Bran spent 5 seasons with Bran. But his support, like, what would his, I guess, point be anymore? In terms of because of the that's okay. Because of the parentage reveal happened with Bran and Sam. What would his point be to validate it? To say that yes, this happened. I was there when Lord Eddard Stark took you out of the castle, or the tower. Like his yeah, like in the books, I could see him. We could see him show up in the books, of course, but in the show, his one use, which was to reveal the truth or put the stamp of yes, this happened, kind of is taken away by them using Bran and Sam and this magical textbook or this magical book that said one line that Rhaegar had his marriage annulled and married somebody else. I don't know. His use came and went, and they didn't bring him in. So I don't know.
So, in my opinion, they're logical. I think we could see them, and this is how we could see them. Now, yes, they could use them as evidence to help prove John's case, which I think would just be kind of tedious. But where would you fall back to if Winterfell was being destroyed? I would fall back to the Neck. That would be the first place to go. That's the safest place that's closest to you. We could possibly see the Neck, but I haven't seen any shooting evidence of that. Of course, we don't know.
Yeah, they could do it where it's outside, because not everything was filmed outside. They have Titanic Studios where they film a lot of indoor stuff. They could have it where the whole thing of them in wherever the Neck or Greywater Watch is filmed on the inside. It's one of those sorts of things. Also, with them, I know this is like a smokescreen thing, but like if they went to like the Neck and like Greywater Watch, the Night King would have like a harder time to find them because I think it moves. So like at least Greywater Watch does, and like it moves, in the books at least. So it could be more difficult for them, but it would be interesting. And the Isle of Faces is relatively close to there, so I don't know. That would be like I guess the safe bet to like land and regroup before going even more south. But yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like my fantasy for season 8. I want to see the God's Eye. I want to see the God's Eye. I want to. I don't have to see the pack. We know some children are still there. There got to be some children still there. Nobody's been messing with them. So that would be so interesting. And I know they haven't showed it. They've talked about it a little bit. And some of the symbols, I know they have the infinity and the just type meanings and the circle of life type meanings, but also some of it kind of looks like it could represent the God's Eye as well. Now, the Isle of Faces is so important in the books, and it makes it look like they made the pact on Dragonstone, you know what I mean? But if you look at all the symbols and you think kind of what, the God's Eye looks like, you can kind of maybe see them introducing it because the Night King has some kind of goal, and I feel like it would be way too simple for extinction to be the goal. He's on a revenge mission of sorts, and everything seems to, I don't know. It's hard to put together because of how they did it in the show, because you can go one way in the books. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I'll try to.
They kind of. That's okay. They kind of butchered that whole like Children of the Forest storyline from what I remember in the books. Like they only had the only survivor, at least in the northern part, was Leaf, and they killed her for no other reason but I guess to make Bran go south. But in terms of the Isle of the Faces, I do think that it could possibly show up as like a safe place for them to flee to a little bit. It'd be interesting to see it because of how like magical it's supposed to be and how many weirwoods are supposed to be there. So it'd be nice cinematically. I don't know if in terms of storytelling and time it makes much sense to go there.
Well, it really depends what the Night King's goal is, honestly, what his real goal is. If it's to destroy all the children and the weirwoods, which I haven't seen evidence of him necessarily destroying weirwoods, but the one where Bran was touched at was completely obliterated, and the mass majority of weirwoods left are on the Isle of Faces. And Winterfell has a weirwood. I mean, I think he's gonna go. I don't know. See, he could be trying to burn all the weirwoods to maybe. If he burns all the weirwoods, it just cancels out his curse. I know that's not going to happen. I'm just trying to figure out his motivations. But I hope we find out his motivations, and he's not just some mindless killing machine whom we have to wait for the prequel to find out his damn motivations. I don't have to see the whole others, or I like calling them the others anyway. I don't mind not seeing their whole backstory, but I definitely want to know his motivation.
Yeah, like we probably will get that one, like at least his motivation, at least I want to say like half of it, and then they'll probably want to leave it ambiguous for the prequel, like the rest of it. Like we may get like the backstory of to who he is and why he was involved with the Children of the Forest in the first place, but we might not get all of the answers because they may want to save that for the prequel because they don't want to give us like everything and then have us have us watch it rehashed in the beginning of the new series.
I guess. Oh, were you done? I'm sorry. I'm cutting you
No,
off.
it's fine.
I'm sorry. Well, I was
No,
gonna
it's
say.
like just that.
Oh, see, I did it again. Go ahead.
No, I was like, it was like, no, you didn't cut me off because I kind of wrapped up my sentence anyways. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. It's so hard when we're just looking at pictures. Um, my Brandon has a question that kind of segues into this, but it's about the books. We won't get too much into the books, but it's a good question, common question. Will there be a Night's King in the books? And I think there will be a Great Other. I don't think there will be a Night King. I think that there's going to be a Sauron type power in the books, for lack of a better term, that he's not going to be, the Great Other is not going to be physical. And maybe we find out the Great Other is Bran in the end, or some type of person like the Three-Eyed Raven who was caught up and is controlling, or the children are actually controlling everything. The books are really interesting because the children are so damn devious, and you're not really sure what they're up to. And Bloodraven is every damn where. I mean, that corn-eating crow is everywhere. So it's really hard to say, but I don't think there's going to be like a literal Night King like in the show. But that's my opinion.
For the Night King, isn't in the lore that there's the Night's King, and then the Night King. There's like two different people.
Right.
So they could have it where like that is brought up again. Like maybe it is like because not only like for his motivations could be not only was Jon a Lord Commander at one point, but that he is also like a king. Like he is like he was born and technically is the rightful king. So he could be coming.
Yeah, he fell in love with another too, a wildling, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah, like and like Jon not only is he has king's blood, not only Northern King's blood, but he has like the Andals and like a Valyrian blood inside of him. And he is a Lord Commander. He did fall in love with a wildling, and he's gaining more power. And the only way to stop Jon or Jon's people is to like go after him and kill him. So I could see in the book that they kind of hint about it and then it show up, but it wouldn't be as like obvious in that regard. Like it wouldn't be as like that's our antagonist for the North is the Night King. Like it's not gonna like really be that involved. And plus, didn't they skip over the Battle of Hardhome anyways? I think in Dance they skipped over it. They just Jon just told what happened.
Jon wasn't there. Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of just skipped over it. So it's like maybe they bring it up. Like it could be just that the Night's King was made for TV just to have a non-human antagonist. But yeah, it's possible.
Right, instead of having an invisible godlike figure in the background, kind of like in the books. That's how it seems to me. Well, we could be wrong. We don't have that much information about the others in the books. What we do know is they seem to be looking for people that resemble Jon, which is very interesting. And do they want to just kill him, or do they want to turn him? That's my big question in the books, because it seems like they're definitely looking for Jon or someone special.
Yeah. Well, Jon is the pact of ice and fire. He is the child of the northern daughter and the southern prince. So him being alive and his whole like conception and birth was, yes, a secret for like a long time, but it's also like when it makes him so, I guess, powerful in the eyes of people who like are into like so much of the lore and stuff. Like Melisandre believes, like, she doesn't know it yet about the fire part, but she sees something in him that like she thought was in Stannis. But it'll be one of those things, like, does the Night King see it too? Like, the Night King could have very well easily have killed Jon once Dany had left, but
See,
he didn't.
I think something's going on. See, man, something's not right. You got Benjen just happening to be there, which, you know, the Three-Eyed Raven had sent him before, but we know Bran didn't do it this time. So who the hell told Benjen that that was going to happen, and for, you know, him to be there to save Jon? Also, if the Night King doesn't want to kill Jon, then why the hell did he just not have all his warged zombies, for lack of a better term? Why didn't he just have them not notice Jon? You know what I mean? Instead of come after him and try to, I don't know. There's something fishy going on with Benjen Stark, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But
and the fact that he was killed off, like pretty much killed off screen for like a character like him who had been off screen for at least until season 6 for so many years, and then to have him be like, Bran, you are important now. I gotta bring you here so you can find something out, and then go back and finds Jon, and then it's like, here, Jon, here's a horse, ride and save yourself, but leave your dear old uncle in the dust, like being self-sacrificing, but still like one of those kinds of things. Like, that was a plot hole that kind of was like, really, you're gonna have a character that everybody wanted to see back so badly and have him killed off in 2 seconds after he comes back on screen after basically an entire season. It was kind of sucky.
D-Range makes the point that he was waiting for the dragons. I know they just did some weird things. Like, even the way he waited for the dragons, he could have killed Drogon. Drogon was just sitting there. He didn't have to throw it at the you know, the flying dragon. It was like,
Yeah.
let's test my abilities. So, you know, it was just odd. I think they just kind of messed that up a little bit as far as shooting it cinematically. But you're right. I don't think they want to hurt Jon. There's something about Jon. Either they need Jon as a replacement because he has the blood, and that's the only blood that can be turned into whatever the Night King actually is. There has to be something special, because I don't think the children could just. They had to choose a special person, someone that was like Bloodraven, someone that was like Bran, someone that was like Jon in the books. Now, Jon in the books is a hardcore warg. He is a super powerful warg and doesn't even know it. So that's what's interesting. Varamir even says he never sensed anything, a warg so strong. So it's very interesting, and I really hate that they cut that out of Jon, him having his wolf dreams and him being a warg, because that would have made the show so much more interesting. You know, I love dragons, but come on, give us a couple of direwolves, please.
Yeah, and not only have Jon's direwolf ghost be the only one really that's left in the show. Like, I don't think Nymeria will come back again. I don't know, because direwolves cost a lot of money, but dragons cost more, so I'm just kind of like, all right, whichever one. But I do remember, I think it was Marie that had brought it up, or I brought it up with Marie, but that Ghost hears Jon hears Ghost in the first book / episode of the show when he's mute. Like, there's obviously in the show they couldn't make Ghost mute because that doesn't make much sense, but in the books there is this magical connection that John does have with Ghost, and they should play that up again, like in the 8th season. Like they like Ghost and John have this bond, and it's kind of unbreakable. And like John and Ghost, like even when John was dead, Ghost didn't leave his side. So there's something to be said for that. And yeah. So
Hey, Kenzie, do you see our time? I can't see our time.
yeah, like we're
How long
about
we been
2
going?
hours. About
Oh, okay.
2 hours.
Let's get another. Yeah,
think-
I see. I like that. I really wish they would have did that. It wouldn't have been that hard to throw a couple of wolf dreams in there, even for
Mhm.
Arya. You know, it would not have been that hard. And on that note, I think we're definitely going to see Nymeria next season. There would be no point of them putting Nymeria in season 7. For me, I think something's going to happen on the battlefield, and Nymeria will save Arya next season. That's another bold prediction. But has anybody got any questions?
I think
or-
Eduardo had a question that was up there, but it was about where is the last location that the show will have us at, I think it was, or something like that. It was like, where do we think the show will end on based on a location, I think, if I have that correct. Yeah. Where will the story end?
King's Landing. King's Landing, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Unless, it might end with a sweeping view of everything too, though, So it might not just end in one spot, but I think the final battle and everything is definitely happening in King's Landing. Because I think the Night King may make it to King's Landing, which I think is possible. Because I think John, and then I think they're going to flee, and they're going to run to King's Landing and be like, hey, Cersei, where you been at? And John's probably going to get locked up or some crap. Then we're going to have this whole big drama for 3 episodes to where, John's being held prisoner. And I don't know. That's just my weird theory. But I think it's going to always end at King's Landing. Basically where kings and queens are born.
Yeah. Oh, but I just saw Jen in the chat. Hi, Jen. Location, but I'm almost them back in Winterfell. Like, it's almost my pet theory is like that John and the magical baby as well, or his own child that's like with somebody else, but that John brings down his child to the crypts of Winterfell, and the crypts are like the last thing that we see. Oh, is my audio cutting out? But that the crypts are like the last place that we go to, because it's symbolic of where he kind of started and where he ends, like where that story part of who his mother was starts in the crypts. Like, we get our first hints of that in the show, at least in the crypts, but for him to then go through finding out who his mother is, and then going through the battle situation and knowing that his father was who his father is, and then for him to come back and then look at the statue that he probably walked past hundreds of times as a child and as an adult, like learning about the who these people were in his family, but then to look at like the statues of who his perceived father was his entire life, but then to find like that, I don't know the relation between the statue and Ned's, but it seems like it's pretty close. But then I think the crypts would be a very interesting and almost, I guess, from a storytelling perspective, would be an interesting place for them to end it. But I could also see it in King's Landing or in the Great Hall in Winterfell, where he is proclaimed king, because I don't see him living in King's Landing. King's Landing isn't for him, like he explained in the season finale of season 7. Like, why would anybody live in a place of 100 or a million people, etc., etc.? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's see. I don't see it playing out like I don't see us seeing them resettled at the end. I think we're gonna get left out. Kind of, the war's gonna end. We're gonna have this scene where everybody's like, "Oh shit, what are we gonna do?" And it's not gonna cut to black, but it's gonna leave us hanging a little bit. I don't think we're gonna. I mean, it's possible. This is just my opinion. But Alicia Kingston made a good point that it started with Bran, it'll end with Bran. She thinks it could be the Crips as well. I can't disagree with you there. I think it's very interesting. Like in the books too, especially the Crips are so much more. I can't think of the word. I'll just say meaningful. There's so much more mystery to them. So I could see it ending there, but I just, this is the show we're talking about. So
Yeah.
yeah,
But
I think they'll end it over a sweeping area, not necessarily at one spot. But if I had to
yeah,
pick King's Landing, I guess.
like they could pick like King's Landing. Like if Jon is, say Jon is, like, and they are all in King's Landing. Like Jon could be like, Tyrion, you can have control of the South. Like this is your domain. This is like where you've been for like the last, I don't know if they're gonna say it, but like however long Tyrion and the Lannisters have had somewhat control over King's Landing. Like you can stay there. King's Landing's not for me. And like they go back north. Like he can be like proclaimed king there, or all of this other stuff. But Jon wouldn't live there. The South isn't his domain. It's not who he is unless they want him to establish his like Targaryen side moving forward. Like if he is to live. Uh, but yeah, it would. It. I don't know. Like it's
Yeah,
possible.
Bran is one of the Sam narrator ending type scenarios. Where Sam is writing the text. He says he thinks Bran would be the one narrating it at the end. I could see the Sam ending, especially if the Citadel gets destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
But they'd have to do it right. I don't want him sitting there telling the story to baby Sam like some people say. I don't think that would be right. But if they did it in a way, I don't make TV shows. I'm not good at that. But they could do that right where it would be cool. But yeah. How far in the future? I don't know. That would be interesting. See, that could be your future scene. You see Sam writing all of the events down and recording them in history. That might be the future scene we get. So good point, bro.
Yeah. I could see that whole scene of Sam writing the story and telling. By that point, I guess it would be like little Sam will be like what 7, 8 years old at that point if we're just going to do like a time jump a little bit. But that ending for me, if Sam's writing the story, happens if both Jon and Dany don't survive and he's writing it down so that when the baby grows up, because the baby will probably, if they do a flash forward, the baby will be like a year old and they'll have to tell the child about like the story of both of their parents. But yeah, it'll be like one of those things again. Like I don't want it to be a repeat of Jon's life and for his child or child in quotation marks, but that kind of ending for me feels like when Jon and Dany don't survive, that's the ending that we get. What do you think, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could see that. I can't argue with that. As You know, as long as they travel the right road to get to that ending, I could handle that. But I don't want this, you know, because I could still see him writing it down because he's one of the only maesters or people that had maester training left. See, not many people even know how to write in this world. So, also, we got one more question that I'm gonna from
Yeah.
Connie Super that we'll take before we go since we're hitting the 2 hour mark.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good point. I could definitely see it ending there. And you know, like I said earlier, with the burning of Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria, and AK brought it up again. Um, I could definitely see that happening, and that be the bittersweet ending. So for the second time, that's my prediction on the bittersweet ending. That the Citadel will burn, and I don't think the Night King's going to have all his forces in one place at one time. I think he's going to spread them out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to read this question from Connie? Can you see it?
And it says, yeah, what is the significance of baby Sam or the Craster sacrifices his feral wives in the north? Baby Sam, for me, is probably because he's the one that got, like, baby Sam is the one that got away of all of Craster's sons. Like, he's the one that, because baby Sam leaving with Gilly and Sam breaks, I guess, whatever contract or pact that Craster had made, I guess, with the White Walkers, whatever formal or informal contract that had happened, but it kind of breaks that. So the Night King wants to, I guess, come for him to take him and turn him, maybe? What do you think, Johnny?
Yeah, well, like, you got to think. Okay, we got all these babies that have been turned. They're still in the lands of always winter, still there. So it's not like we're seeing everything the Night Kings bring to the table. There are other whites or white. What are they? They're officially called White Walkers on the show, right? I call them the others
Well,
because books.
yeah, they called them White Walkers on the show. They would have called the, but sidetrack, they would have called them the others, but I think because Lost used the others on their show that they didn't use the others. That's, I think, why they changed
So,
the name.
you still got that up there. So no matter what happens, even if they kill the Night King, they're gonna have to destroy the magic that created the Night King, not just kill him. Because if they just kill him, then you're gonna have a whole nother scenario where the baby White Walkers grow up. I know it sounds funny when I say that, but you got them up there. You cannot dismiss that. So there has to be something more than just killing the Night King. It can't be that. That's why, I mean, that the whole brand being the Night King, or at least connected to him, makes a lot of sense. Even though if it is, they made it super obvious because they made the Night King look just like Bran. So I don't know. You know, they could be trolling us with that, but I could see it happening that way. They had to kill Bran to kill the magic that created. But also, you go there, they would have to burn all the weirwoods down at that point as well to kill that magic, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, like, kind of also, the bittersweet ending too ends with what if all the magic is gone in the world? Like, if all the magic is gone, then, sorry to say it, but not only does Jon die, but so does Dany, because Dany's technically magic. She rose stone eggs to be dragons, like, with magic, like, ending with not only the Night King's magic, but magic in general. It's kind of like all of it has to go, not select bits.
Well, when you first say that, I want to say, no, there's no way, Dany, why would Dany die from the magic? Well, you got to think, she should have died twice. So if you're going by the many-face God's rules, she owes 2 lives. So Like, we can't get into that. That is a good point, Kenzie. I haven't never really thought about that as far as Dany being affected by it. I know her dragon's dying, but her herself being affected by it would be interesting because she wouldn't be impervious to fire anymore, at the very least.
Mm-hmm. But I also don't, like, her connection to the magic and the blood magic is significant. Like, she's not safe. Like, if John's not safe from magic, then neither is she in a way. So it's one of those kinds of things. Because it's either Danny dies, or John dies, or the both of them die. But most people think that John has more of the idea to die than she does, which is kind of invalid or not 100% true. But yeah, it's one of those sorts of things.
Right, and Connie made a good point. Arya did drink from the mercy pool at the House of Black and White, which gives you what you need, but also um, can be poison. That's interesting. I'd like to know more about that. I hope the books gets more into that, because that is very interesting with the pool. We probably should wrap it up.
Yeah.
It's been over 2 hours. We got
Yeah,
plenty
it's
more
just
to
over
talk
2
about,
hours.
guys. Y'all want to come to another stream
Yeah,
later?
we'll
not
make
today.
another one. Yeah, we can make another one, and like whenever we both figure that out, whether it'll be on Johnny's channel or mine, we can figure that out. And whoever else wants to, I guess, join me and Johnny on these random rambles of ours, more than welcome. At least on my channel, anyway. I don't know about Johnny and his exclusivity, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm a real asshole. No one can come on my channel. Yeah. So whatever, guys.
Before we wrap up, Johnny, anything that you want to tell them about, like any new videos that you're working on, etc., etc.
Well, I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm working on a Children of the Forest video. I'm also working on some Legion stuff, and next Saturday be doing a Legion stream with BBM. Also, yeah, I think we'll have the next one on my channel, and I know we're going to be able to have more than two because we have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
And that'll be, maybe we'll do that. I don't know if we'll do that before Saturday or not. I'll let you know. But yeah, I just want to say, everybody, subscribe to Kenzie, subscribe to everyone in the chat. Almost everyone has a page. If they don't, still subscribe, because you won't get any notifications and it won't bother you. So go ahead and sub. And you can find me at Johnny B Crazy 15 on Twitter, and Johnny B Crazy on YouTube. Check it out, yo. And thank you so much, Kenzie. And I know you want to give shout outs.
Well, you can do some as well with Johnny, but also Johnny's Amino is linked in the description, which he did not mention. But a video that I have a couple of videos that I'm thinking of working on. I know some of you want a John Sabat's video that'll be coming. A video on Dario and John. Another video on like Daenerys and like Sansa. Like a whole bunch of them are coming, and all of my stuff is in the description box. But I guess we can do shout outs before we officially leave. Johnny, do you want to start with the shout outs?
Yeah, thanks for putting me on the spot there at Sassy Sansa. Hold on just a second. Let's go up. We had Alicia in the chat. Thank you so much. Don't cut me off. we have Jen at Lady Wolverton's Den. Thank you so much for coming out. Brand the Builder, thank you so much, man. We had Eduardo Blanco, Fura Hexa, Connie Super, Nancy T, the maker of blankets. We have, oh my gosh, Chrissy of Old Stones, Broke Man 94, who makes me sound racist every time I say his name. B Range was in the chat. Thank you so much for coming out. The one true David Adams, you're the man. I appreciate it. Who else do we have here? Do you see anybody I'm leaving out?
Johnny, you forgot your Monday co-host LMR.
LMR. I don't even think she's here. She left. She
was here though.
No, I'm just joking. Oh yeah, I got a live stream Monday on LMR's channel, Westworld. Season 1, Episode 4. I think it's Dissonance Theory. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, that'll be Monday. I forgot all about it. Thank you, Kenzie. Game of Thrones brain.
And I have to remind you. We had Jen in here. We also even had Kyle Azora Hype in here for a moment. I saw him. I didn't get to comment, but he was in here as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we kind of got everybody. If I missed anybody, please call me out on bangers. I'm willing to take your sass, and I won't sass you back because you can sass me, even though I'm sassy Santa. But yeah, I think we got everybody. But yeah, we'll have another one with Johnny and whoever wants to come on with me and listen to Sassy Santa ramble on whatever. Let me know. I'll let Johnny know, and we'll have fun. So
yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
I'll put my address in the comments. You guys just mail me letters. And
what?
No, I'm just joking. I just want to say thank you to everybody, and pretty much, yeah.
Cool. Yep, I think
that goes away.
I think you. I wanted to thank you guys for coming to my first hosting stream, as I know it was on Jen's channel. I'll probably at one point be on Jen's channel again. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, and you might see me on book club in the coming weeks. But yeah, and that's about it. So, Johnny, any final words for the people before we hang up?
Yeah, we'll see. Somebody already, Brand, wanting to jump in the chat one day. See if we can set that up. He brings the controversy. All right, I'll duel it out with you. We'll figure that out. We got to get off of here because now I can't say goodbye. I love you all so much. Thank you guys.
All right. Bye, guys, and see you later.